Well, hello, welcome back to Tail 3 Cabins. It's been a while since I've done a review on a portable power station, although I don't think this is going to be very portable. I've laid off doing them for quite a while now. I took off the summer and most of the fall. That doesn't mean that I haven't had offers. I usually get like 1 or 2 emails a week asking me to review their power stations. There's a lot of them out there. I've kind of laid off of it for a little while, but when Bluetti reached out to me and they said they have a new one coming out that no information has been released on it yet, it kind of intrigued my interest a little bit. So the only thing that they told me is that the model number is an AC200L. That was it. There's no information out on it or anything like that. Nothing I could check for reviews, but I'm assuming that this is going to replace the AC200 Max. So when they contacted me and I did just a little bit of research on the 200 Max, I thought that this would be intriguing to see if it's going to hold up to what its predecessor was like, and does this model have any new features or advancements compared to their predecessor. So I just got back from Southern Ohio. They just sent this to me a few days ago. They're supposed to do a big promotion for this in November, Black Friday type stuff. I'll leave links below and stuff like that. So let's put this through some testing, see how well it holds up. And all right, so I moved the box out of the way to make it a little bit easier to work with, and you can see my slimming figure here. Right on top of the box, there is a Bluetti little case here, and I'm assuming it's going to have all your cables. So everything is wrapped up with a nice Velcro strap inside the bag here. Here are your solar cables with a solar connection. This is for your car outlet to charge by your vehicle. And then you have your AC plug. A little tiny bag with a screw in there, and I bet you that is the grounding screw if you want to ground this device. We've got the manual and the unit itself. Alrighty, so this is very similar to its predecessor if you look at it. See if it came with any type of charge on here. The display is vastly changed. It's got 33% charge right now. All right, real quick while I got it out here, let's just go through everything on the front. So your DC output side, you have your cigarette lighter type adapters, 12 volts at 10 amps. Here is a 48 volt 6 amp DC. Not a lot of these power stations have that type of connection. Then if you look over here, you have your smaller connection. So you have USB-C port. You have 1, 2 of those. Those are 100 watts each. In the center are your USB-A ports, 2 of those. And those are 5 volts, 2 amps, and there are 2 of those. So now if we go over here to the AC side, you have 4 regular AC outlets, and then you have a nice 30 amp RV type connection. I'm assuming though, and I will let you know once I start doing some more testing, that this is not actually 30 amp. It's probably going to deliver the same amount of voltage as these outlets, but this is handy to have if you do have a trailer RV and you just use the regular connection with your recreational vehicle. The display is changed quite a bit. The previous one, if I remember right, had a touch screen, so now this is just all information. So if you turn it around to the side, this is going to be where your charging connections are right here. So this, I assume, is for an external battery. This here is going to be for your DC input. And this ranges from 12 volts to 147 volts, and if I read the instructions correctly, 15 amps. So you could use a pretty good wide variety of solar panels here. If you string your solar panels together just right, you can get 1200 watts of solar to be inputted into this connection right here, which is quite a bit of a change. Having that capability of up to 147 volts means that you could take a lot of your solar panels and put them in series, which is the easiest and cheapest way to connect multiple solar panels together. Here is where your ground screw would go. Here is a reset circuit button, and then this would be for your AC charging right here. All these input connections here looks like they seal pretty good, so have some water resistance to them. So it appears that, say for example, you want to charge with your vehicle. So this end here is not going to be found on the Bluetti device itself. It will have to go into this, which is like an adapter. So this will plug into here, and then this end will screw into the side of the Bluetti. Same thing when you're talking about solar panels. You're going to hook your solar panels up on this end. This connection is going to go into this adapter again, and then this will screw into the Bluetti. Now the AC power cord will just go directly into the Bluetti itself, and it will go into an AC outlet. There will be no need for this adapter here. There is no phone charging on the top. Bluetti is normally one of the few power station makers that put a little pad up here, a charging pad for phones, but there's not one on this one. All right, let's talk capacities on the battery. This is 2,048 watt hours of capacity, which is pretty good size. I have my space heater on right now. It's pulling about 1,400 to 1,500 watts, and it's going to take about 1.4 hours to deplete this battery. 1,500 watts is quite a draw. If you're going to be using a refrigerator, let's say a regular kitchen refrigerator, you could probably get away with using it for about a day, day and a half. Now under the AC plugs, you can pull as much as 2,400 watts continuously and a 3,600 watt surge. It also does heavy lifting, so depending on the appliance that you're trying to power, if it's like a coffee maker or something that doesn't have electronics in it, or a computer board, you could probably power something that is more than 2,400 watts. They say it can heavy lift up towards 3,600 watts. Now if you're recharging this battery in the standard mode, it's going to take you somewhere around about just shy of 2 hours to recharge it from zero. If you put it on the turbo mode, you could charge this up with an hour. I wouldn't recommend using turbo all the time, but in a pinch, it should be okay. The more you use turbo mode, the more of a chance of lessening the life of the battery. What's cool about the turbo mode though is, let's say you have an extended power failure, maybe you, friends, or family, power's out and you're going to use this to power your refrigerator and a few other appliances in the house. Well, this should give you a good 24 hours to do that. Let's say this power outage continues. Since you have this turbo mode, you could just take this to somebody who still has power, charge it up within an hour, bring it back, and pick up where you left off for another day, day and a half. And you can continue to do this until you have your power failure. So that's one nice thing about being able to quickly recharge this in a pinch. I have the Bluetti AC200L all charged up to 100%. I got my meter on here to record wattage. Then I have a space heater that I'm going to use to drain the battery down to zero. It's a good time for me to, I'm going to try to work out over here in the corner and the upstairs of my garage. In between lifting some weights and getting ripped, I thought I would do a few tests here on the multimeter. So it is outputting 119 volts. Then checking on the pure sine wave, it appears that it is giving a pure sine wave at 60 hertz. Okay, so we're at 10% battery left, and it says 0.1 hours before the battery is totally depleted, so that's about 6 minutes. It'll be interesting to see how accurate this countdown is towards total empty on the battery. Some of them will deplete, and they will say they have 5 minutes left or 10% left, and then all of a sudden they just shut off. Okay, 4% left. We're still going. The battery light just started flashing in the red there, if you can see. So while we're waiting here, just to let you know, the batteries on here are lithium iron phosphate batteries. Those can be cycled 2,500 to 3,000 times and still keep the battery capacity up and around 80%. All right, we're down to 3%, still going strong. I mentioned this is 2,048 watt hours, but this can be expanded with additional batteries that can be hooked into this to bring it up to right around 9,000 watt hours, and that would be plenty to power just about everything in your home for a full day. Okay, 1%, and I am impressed because that's a good sign, because the calculations being made to tell you what the draw is on this battery to when it's going to crap out is pretty good. And my heater just shut off. We're down to 0%. The display still stays on, which a lot of other batteries, the display will just go off when the battery's dead. All right, off of my meter here, I got 1,885 watt hours off of the meter. And the unit itself has a capacity of 2,048 watt hours. So if I take my calculator, 2,048 equals 92%. So that is excellent. That's probably the highest I've seen on a battery of this size when it comes to capacity. So that's really good. So far, I'm pretty impressed compared to a lot of the other ones I've tested on this size. The lead acid battery that came stock with this RV, this unit here would give you 4 times the amount of power that the lead acid battery that comes stock with most RVs. This has a nice RV connection on it. I'm going to plug it in here. Now it says a 30 amp connection, but I'm betting that it's just a 20 amp, just like the outlets, but it still is convenient to hook up to your RV. So let me just turn on the AC power here. And I have an app on here to see what kind of draw we're having. I turned off the converter because I don't want to be discharging the battery. So we're going to go inside and do a few tests. Okay, we're inside the RV. One of the first things we'll do is test the fireplace. It's pretty cold out today, so I cannot turn the air conditioner on, though I do not know why you would want to use the air conditioner with a battery of that type. If you plan on trying to use the air conditioner with a battery of that type, you're probably going to use the power up in about an hour and a half to maybe an hour and 45 minutes. So it's not worth for that, but other things in your RV, like the fireplace I got running, let's go check and see what kind of draw we have. So we have 1500 watts being drawn by the fireplace. And now let us just see if we can make a cup of coffee. All right, showing here that it's pulling 2.1 kilowatts. Usually this takes a little bit of time for the water to heat up, about a minute from when it draws it out of the reservoir here. Okay, then we bounce back down to 1.5 kilowatts, which is just the fireplace on over here. Still got warm air coming out. So if you're going to use this method, it's great because if you're boondocking and you don't want to fire up a generator and make a lot of noise, you can make your cup of coffee in the morning. You can leave that battery in the back of your pickup truck. You don't need to pull it inside here and take up space. Just plug it in through your RV. But you just want to be wise with the amount of wattage that you're using. So right now I have the coffee maker going and I have the fireplace on, but I would not want to turn on the microwave. That would just overload it. I know it's going to do it, and I don't want to take a chance on ruining the electronics of the microwave here, so I'm not going to turn it on. This could probably run the air conditioner. I don't want to say for sure. I know my generator is 3200 watts on propane, and that will run this air conditioner. So this is 2400 watts, but a maximum of 3600 watts. Okay. So I was able to make a cup of coffee. I was able to run the fireplace. So I would imagine you could probably do the microwave and a cup of coffee. You just want to be a little stingy with your maximum wattage output when you're using something like this. This would definitely run everything else in your RV. It's a much lower wattage. If you don't want to lug this around, like I said, you don't have to carry it inside. You just leave this in the back of the truck, and that's what we do when we go out with ours. Plug this in, and we're good to go to make that cup of coffee. If we need to extend our battery life a little bit longer for maybe a day or so, you throw out the solar panels, and that just helps you out all the more. Okay, I have 3 computers hooked into the power station over here. I'm going to test the UPS capacity. They're all running at the same time. They're all running off of the AC connection on the Bluetti. And I'm going to unplug back here to simulate a power outage, and we'll see if any of these computers go out. This is my classic Mac connection, so these would be the most finicky out of computers compared to some of the ones of today. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, everything's still working. I'm pulling 250 watts. I have an old eMac. I have an old iMac, one of the first ones, the G4 15-inch. And then this is just a multi-game arcade that's hooked up. So everything is pretty sensitive to a power failure. I have it in UPS function right now. I'm going to go over there and pull the plug one more time just to make sure that this works properly. So it appears that the UPS function works. As far as I know, this table saw is probably the highest wattage draw when it starts up. So I'm going to turn this on. Let me get a little scrap piece of wood that I could mess with too. And then you're going to have to tell me what it peaks out at because I can't see it from here. Okay. Could not handle my table saw, which draws quite a bit of wattage. Yep, table saw is too much for it. Okay, here is the pancake compressor and a chop saw. So let me turn on the AC here. Okay, so I saw it peak out at just under 3,100 watts. Pancake compressor and a chop saw will work together. I don't think there's a point in trying to max this thing out anymore. You saw me do it with the table saw upstairs. That has the largest draw when it comes to starting up, and you saw that it did overload the power station. So if we were out in the back part of our property and we were going to make a hunting blind or something like that, we could use the compressor, we could use the chop saw, and in the downtime when we're not using any of this electricity, we could have some solar panels hooked to this and start recouping the power we use. Okay, while we're on the subject of high appliances, I got a pretty good sized shop back here, so let's test that out before I lug all this stuff from the upstairs of the garage down to the pole barn. All right, let me just turn this on high. So that was pulling 1,300 watts. I'm not sure what the peak was on that, but it ran my large shop vac with no issues. Some of the improvements over its predecessor is that this has more wattage. The old one was 2,200 watts. This is 2,400 watts. When it comes to input wattage for charging, the old one was 1,200 watts, and this is 2,400 double. So that's combining solar and electric coming in at the same time. Also, this is much quieter than the previous model. So far the whole time I've been using this, the fans, they're barely audible when they do turn on. So I'm going to put it under a little bit heavier load to see what happens. But charging, I never heard them come on when they were charging. They said that they were on, but I never heard them. And then lastly, aside for the input, there is no external charging brick. It's just a cord. So the charging brick is gone. And then the previous model was Bluetooth only. So now this is Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So it'll give you a little bit greater range. You don't have to be so close to it with Bluetooth. If it's on your Wi-Fi network, you can control it off of Wi-Fi. I just thought I would share with you this new power station by Bluetti, which is replacing the AC200 Max. This is the AC200L. As large power stations go, I think this is comparable with other large power stations out there. I have tested a couple good sized ones equivalent to this. They didn't have the expandability like this has. Having those expandable batteries in an extended power outage situation would be nice. But again, this quickly recharges, as I mentioned earlier. So you could take this somewhere, charge it up within an hour, and go back and hook up to your refrigerator and what other things you need for a day, and then just repeat that process until you have power back on. So this is the holiday season, and Bluetti is going to have a lot of Black Friday stuff going on and some other deals off and on until Christmas. So I'll leave more information about this product below if you're interested in it. I'll leave some links and a coupon code, and if you happen to want to purchase this, it would be great if you use those links below, because that'll help me out a little bit to maintain the things that I need to do to keep this channel going. So I appreciate everybody watching. Hope you enjoy and subscribe to these videos. Click on that little bell when you want to know when new one's coming out, and keep an eye on us. Take care, everybody.